class is completely free. It has no credits. I'm sorry if you were looking to apply it on your resume. I'm sorry, your course syllabus to graduate, because I have no certificates. If you want a certificate, I would recommend you use a crayon with red. Definitely red color. Any other certificate is going to be invalid for this class. So yeah, if you want to learn how to make PMV your friends, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that, but evidently they are friends of mine, as I've been told. I don't quite know. Actually, let me pull up some more magical Google Slides things. Alrighty. Oh, I've got so many windows open. Streaming is definitely crazy with 3 monitors and have all this going. Alright, so here we go. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's a little past 1 o'clock for me. I know time zones are crazy on the internet. So there is a little bit of stream lag from what I can tell. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Like I mentioned, this is PMV 101. My name is Den, and I'm going to go through the basics of a PMV. So let's start with what is a PMV. So you see these letters, you see them on the internet, you see them on, Equestria Daily if you browse that site or you've been there forever. And essentially what a PMV is it stands for a pony music video. It's essentially clips of the show My Little Pony set to music, and that's pretty much it. It's a very basic concept. It takes a music theme and clips from the show and puts them together in a video, exactly as the title says. Now, PMVs have stemmed from the AMV, or the anime music video group. That was basically a lot of things kind of grew out of that community, and the term itself can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. So essentially, you can take just clips of the show and you can put it to music, and that can be called a PMV. Or you can go crazy with your own custom animations, source filmmaker 3D animations. You can do it by yourself. You can do it in groups. You can do it stop motion animation. As long as you're using horse content and music, you can pretty much call it a PMV. It's a very loose term. So I'm going to go over some examples of some great PMVs, in my opinion, that I've come across. And a lot of them come from a group of friends for the PMV community's sake. So you have things like Stamp on the Ground on the top right, which is a very classic PMV. It just takes the show, it takes the music, Stamp on the Ground, and it just puts them together and makes it happen. It's really not complicated. It does a little bit of FX, but it's not at all crazy. And very similar for Chocolate Corn's Stressed Out. She did a really good job with pulling the theme of the song and the theme of the music and mixing them together with the episode. So I will go more into detail about what I mean by that in the next couple slides, but on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have very FX heavy PMVs like Don't Stop by the Collaboratory. So that took a group of PMV editors, and ranging from everything for custom animation and After Effects to clips of the show to crazy text to shapes, as we all like to define as a category these days, and many more. So as I mentioned, the biggest aspect of PMVs is creativity. Now, PMVs very much an art, if you want to be that snobby. It's an expression. You're taking things and it's remix culture. You're mixing music, you're mixing this show together, and you're making something new out of it. So that's really what's magic of PMV. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna put the show and I'm gonna put this music together because I think it'd be really cool. It's like, if you don't have something going on, it's just music set to clips. If they don't mix, they don't match, they don't come together, that's really where PMVs shine. So going back to those basics, a PMV is taking that music, taking the show, and mixing it with an idea or a theme. You're trying to make a statement with this PMV. You want something to happen out of it. So you want to take this show, a concept in the show, these clips, a character, a theme, and you want to take this song and you want to push them together, and you want to make something new out of it. So I'm going to go over, with that idea, some of the do's and don'ts when you're trying to make a PMV happen. So some of the do's: go ahead and watch some of the PMVs that are out there. If you want recommendations, I can definitely dump a list on you. There's tons out there to watch, and there's tons of really great editors that are more than happy to share what they know. And on the technical aspect, be sure to use quality source content. I see a lot of PMVs, and now mind you, a lot of them are older and it was not available at the time, but a lot of PMVs using TV show rips with hub logos or Discovery Family logos, or it doesn't really add to the quality. It's a very easy fix. You just get the quality content. And be sure you match it with the music. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of PMVs I see where it's just they throw the track in their video editor and they take some clips and they try to match some stuff, but it doesn't flow. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't make a statement. And so to me, you feel this disconnect, and you feel the music going on, and maybe the clips are offbeat, and it makes me close the window. It's not really worth my time to watch, and you can make it happen better. And like I mentioned, be sure to integrate your theme. Be sure to take that concept, that statement you want to make, and while you're making the video, just keep that in mind and make sure that everything kind of flows together and is under that umbrella. And like I mentioned, be sure to ask others for help. The community is wonderful. There's so many people out there that have made PMVs, AMVs, GMVs, 1, 2, 3 MVs, whatever you want to call them. And they make videos. They're more than willing to show and share with their content and their tips and tricks and some of the things that they wish they would have known. And that's kind of what I'm here for. I'm fairly new. I'm here to help explain some of the stuff that I wish I would have known, especially from the technical side. And I'll get more about that later in the presentation, and how to make these PMVs happen. So some of the don'ts. I see a lot of PMVs that execute things using lip sync movements, or just show clips that are somebody talking and it doesn't really match the music. So if you don't lip sync some of these clips, I would try to find something else to bring in to the music rather than using that clip. So instead of using a clip of someone talking, if you don't want to make the lip sync happen, then try to find another clip that works. Try to find something else. And once again, the hub logo is a no. I'm gonna shout outs to my friends in the chat that keep thinking the Discovery Family and the hub logo is quality content, which by itself is great, but no, don't feel the need. And lastly, don't feel the need to use effects. I see a lot of PMVs and a lot of videos out there that just throw effects at the screen. They throw a lot of things. They make some crazy text come in, and they make some shapes happen and wacky transitions. And I understand there's a time and place to learn some of the FX in the show, and time and place for making them. But the problem is, so many people feel the need. It's oh, I have to use FX. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. You can make really good statements and really good music videos without having to use FX. You can make very simple ones that are very meaningful. So FX do have a time and they do have a place, but don't feel the need to throw them in because you feel you have to. So the next step, when you have your theme and you have your song you kind of want to bring together and you want to make a PMV or an AMV or GMV out of, then you need to look at finding clips. Now the easiest way to find clips is to watch the show. Sit down and watch a couple episodes, especially if you want to figure out how this character plays into this, or how you want to make the music video happen. Just kind of watch the episodes. If you're looking something for specific, the MLP Wiki is phenomenal. You can go online and look at Applejack's page, and you can find all the things Applejack has done. So if you're looking for scenes with her digging a hole or feeding the pigs, I can almost guarantee you the MLP Wiki has your back covered. I'm serious. It's actually really impressive. And on the MLP Wiki are all the episode transcripts. Now, the episode transcripts are essentially the line for line voices from the show. And yes, thank you, Shady, for putting the MLP Wiki in the in the chat. But you can go through and read through the episode list. And see, the magical thing is that because it's online, you can search it. So if you're looking for a specific phrase, like I remember I was editing a clip where I needed a pony to say, "What are you doing here?" And I seriously put it in quotes, went to the Google, put MLP Wiki episode transcriptions at the end, and seriously, it found me multiple instances, episode numbers, and exact timestamps of when these clips came in. So that was one of those things for me. Like, it's kind of amazing somebody sat down and typed out all of the transcripts. So lastly is just throwing the episodes in your video editor and sliding around. Just, if you know an episode centers around a certain character you're making a music video with, just kind of take that timeline scrubber and just move through the episode. Try to find something that strikes your fancy that you want to use. And it's really easy to just find it. So that covers a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk about that makes a PMV and AMV happen. That's kind of the magic behind it. So next, I wanted to go over some of the technology. Now, you hear me use the word video editor. A video editor is a program that allows you to take video content, audio content, effects, and all these other things, cut them up, and make your video out of. It's basically taking your source contents and mixing them together. So there are lots of options, and I'd like to give a shout out to JT and all them for using Windows Movie Maker. It's very quality editing software that I highly suggest you uninstall from your computer and forget it ever existed. But there are tons of options out there, ranging from free to thousands of dollars to completely professional. So Windows Movie Maker, as I already mentioned, is a very basic video editor. You can take clips in and you can kind of put them on a timeline, cut them up, and you can make a music video with it. But it's very difficult. It doesn't allow you flexibility. It doesn't allow you some of the cuts and the transitions that you get with other video editing software. Other options are, for example, Kdenlive is a FOSS, a free and open source video editing tool that it emulates a lot of the techniques and features that programs like Vegas and Premiere have. And it's a very interesting video suite that is up and coming. So if you want to give it a shot, it's absolutely free. You can go ahead and download it and just try it. The next one is the one I'm going to be going over today is Sony Vegas. Sony Vegas has been around for way longer than it should probably, but it works. Vegas has been around. I remember in middle school editing with Sony Vegas 6, and I have 13, and I think 14 is out if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of crazy. But Sony Vegas is definitely the tipping point between your basic video editors and some of the more professional things, because Sony Vegas allows you to do a lot of the more professional video editing and cuts, but it also is easy enough to pick up that you can kind of get your feet wet in some of the more professional things. But if you're really looking for advanced video editing, crazy cuts, and really good video editing suites, you're probably going to be looking at the Adobe software or Final Cut. The Adobe software kind of is a really big umbrella, but a lot of people use Premiere, which is their video editing tool. I have not sat down and tried Premiere yet. It's kind of one of those things. Personally, I sat down with Vegas because it was very easy to learn. It was very easy to pick up and get started, and it allows some of the more advanced and complicated things to be pulled in, while Premiere is more complicated at the start, but you get a lot more features and powerful. But if you want to go crazy on your FX, you're probably looking at something like Adobe After Effects. Adobe After Effects allows you to do a lot of the really professional FX, a lot of the professional rotoscoping, and some really cool stuff. I have not sat down again with After Effects, but I have seen a lot of really cool things come out of it, and a lot of the visuals that you've seen in these PMVs, if you've sat down and watched any of them, most likely came from After Effects. It's really kind of an amazing tool, and it allows for a lot of different stuff. The other logo I don't have on the screen right now is Final Cut. I know a lot of people use Final Cut on Macintosh. There's been a couple controversies with some of the newer versions, but that is also another professional video editing suite that allows you to do pretty much anything and everything. And once again, it's only for Macintosh OS X. And I know, for example, if you want that, I would probably push you towards Jake Wyman, because I could not answer that because I don't even own a Macintosh. So, like I mentioned, today we're going to be going over Sony Vegas, which I already mentioned in the chat is not even owned by Sony anymore, but the product is being sold by, I can't even remember, but it's a very basic yet advanced video editing tool. It allows you to do things that offer advanced techniques, but with a simple enough interface that you can learn. So I'm going to go ahead and go over bring up Sony Vegas and show you some of the basics. We're going to show you how to bring in clips from the show, bring in some of cuts and transitions and making markers and bringing in audio, and just how to navigate around Sony Vegas. So I'm going to swap over to my Sony Vegas window here. I'm going to get my voice mixer out of the way so you can see. So this is Sony Vegas. If you pull up Sony Vegas for the first time, this is the default interface. So I'm going to go over what each section is that we're looking at right here. Right here we have our project media. This is where all of the clips, all the audio, and all of the transitions are going to be to make your video happen down here on your timeline. So down here in the bottom is your timeline. All your video clips will appear down here, and I will get something started for you guys in a minute so it looks a little bit more full and you kind of understand what's happening. Right here, this black box is our preview window. So all of our video and all of the things we do in our timeline down here will appear in this preview window. And we have a master volume control output slider here. So you have in your toolbars some of you basically, new file, open, save, very common things you see in Microsoft Office and other tools. You have play controls down here by the timeline, and honestly some very powerful tools and tips you can read through the manual and go through down here. So the first thing you want to do in a video editor is bring in some videos. So I have a lot of the episodes of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 4 on my network share that are already pre-converted for Vegas. Now that is actually one of the things with Sony Vegas that you will find is getting the clips and getting them in the right format. Now I can't help you with finding the television show. You have to do that on your own. But in terms of converting it for Vegas, I can release some of the FFmpeg commands that I use, and so you can get them in the proper Vegas format. So here I have all of the every episode for season 1 to season 6. Now I'm going to be doing a sample PMV for you guys, just a basic idea that I came up with, which I found out actually someone else had already done, but I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to take the Music Handy by Weird Al and put some Applejack clips to it, where she fixes the steam pipes in season 6, episode 10. So I'm going to take this episode that's already pre-converted and just drag and drop it right here into the project media. So now that it's in the project media, it is ready to be dropped into Vegas. So one of the things about Vegas is your project settings. Now that I have the show clip in here, I'm going to drag it to my timeline, and it's going to ask me, do you want to set the project video settings to match this media? Now what that means is your project settings, like your resolution and frame rate and all these other things, are set by your project. And by dragging this first clip down, Vegas is asking you, would you like to change your project settings to match the television show clips? And the answer is yes, you would like to do that. Because what happens is the show itself is 1920 by 1080, but the frame rate is not something you would expect off the top of your head. The frame rate for My Little Pony Friendship Magic is 23.976 frames per second. Not a solid 24, not 30, not 60. And the easiest way to get Vegas to recognize that is to click yes on that window and just allow it to set your frame rate, your resolution, and everything right here in your project properties. The only thing that I would recommend you guys change in Sony Vegas here is on this line right here, you see full resolution rendering quality. You have a bunch of options here. And essentially what this allows you to do is if you don't have a powerful enough computer, or if you want to get things done quickly and view things quickly, essentially you can select draft, and that's a very rough quality, rough through encoding process. But I would recommend, if you have a decent computer, to go ahead and click best, because Sony Vegas is a little picky sometimes in the preview window over here. If you don't go ahead and look and go ahead and select best, it'll try to render things and you try to save it and it doesn't look right, or some of your masking is off. It's just not a fun day. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to best and click OK. And to answer a question from the comments, this will be on my YouTube channel for those of you who came in late or want to rewatch some of these parts, just in case. So I've went ahead and dragged my episode clip down here into the timeline. And now that it's in the timeline, I'm going to show you how to cut things out of the show. So by dragging this file down into the timeline, I've put the entire show episode into the timeline, which, I mean, we're making a music video and we're not rendering out the actual episodes, so we're gonna cut some clips out. So like I mentioned, I'm looking for specific clips that can go with Applejack and doing work and being handy. So I'm gonna go ahead towards the end of the episode here, because I remember in the episode she fixes the pipes towards the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and scrub through and find a clip where she has some tools in her hand or she's doing something. So let's see here. So we are fixing things right about here. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and move my slider here and scrub until we get to somewhere around here she's holding some tools. So go ahead and use your arrow keys to go frame by frame on some of these things. And as you can see here, I've got my keyboard commands showing up for you guys to give you an idea of what I'm doing. So I'm just using the arrow keys here to go to a specific frame. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this section here where she starts to put her belt on. And I'm going to click the S key. Now what S allows you to do is it splits the clip. So instead of having one big section, you now have two sections of the episode where you just have your marker. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue scrubbing here, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull that section where she just stops in. So I'm going to go ahead and to the end, and I'm going to go click S again. So right now I have this small little clip of Applejack putting on her belt and putting on some tools, getting ready to get some work done. Now, the other thing I was going to bring in is the music itself. So once again, you can just open up Windows Explorer and drag and drop your music into Sony Vegas. Now down here in the timeline, there's all these different sections. Now what these sections are they're called layers. And with these layers, we can reorganize them. We can move them around. If you want one section of video to be on top of another or floating on top, you can just as easily drag and drop. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer for our music right here. So I'm going to right click an existing audio layer, and I'm going to click insert audio track right down here. And for those of you in the chat that are asking questions, I have a questions section at the end. I would love to talk to you guys and kind of go through them one by one, so we make sure to answer everyone's question. So just hold your questions to the end. No worries. We will get to them. And so now that I have that new layer for my video, for my audio, I'm going to go ahead and just drag and drop. So right now I have the the music I'm dealing with right here, and in order to play something in Vegas, you can just hit the spacebar. So let's see here. I need to bring up my audio. Alrighty. So if I hit spacebar, you can actually hear both the episode and the music playing. So what we're gonna need to do is we just want the audio. There are a couple ways to do it. You can either remove these audios right here, these audio layers that are attached to the video, or what I'm gonna do for now is I'm just go ahead and click this little sideways circle, this stop icon that says mute, and I'm gonna mute these audio layers. So when I go ahead and hit spacebar again, I'm just getting the music. Perfect.
There's nothing in the world I can't fit.
Okay. What I did is I accidentally muted my master tool. Oops. Alright. So I'm going to move some of these clips around. And I'm going to pull in that Applejack clip right here. So one of the things that I find really useful when organizing a PMV is Sony Vegas has a feature known as markers. So if I'm scrubbing around and these little intro beats here, I'm going to want to use a different clip for each section. And an easy way to keep track of everything is to use the markers. So when you're moving around, and so let's listen to this section here. And let's say I want to make a transition right about this mark. What I can do is I can add a marker. And that's done simply by clicking typing M, hitting M. And what that does is this gives me a little flag that I can now snap to. And I can edit clips around that, and it allows me to organize my clips and keep them in line with the music. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple little markers here after each section. And one thing I would like to mention at this point is if you don't like the song you're working with, I would not recommend you make a PMV out of it because you will listen to the song a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut some of this clip up so it matches the music here. So all I'm doing is I'm pulling the edges of each of my source clips, and that allows me to extend the clip into the episode or pull it back. And that's all that is. It's just clicking the edges of the video. So now what I can do is I can continue hitting S, continue splitting the clips, and just going with the beat. So another thing Vegas allows you to do is it allows you to speed up and slow down some of these clips you're working with. So I'm going to try to match each of the things Applejack does in this clip to the beat. So I'm going to go ahead and split this right where she clips her belt in. And I can now zoom in and hold control. So if I hold control and I go over the edge of a video clip here, you can see my icon changes to this little squiggle. Now that squiggle allows me to slow down or speed up the clip. So I have this clip where Applejack takes the belt and she clicks it in. And that's the entirety of the clip. Now if I hold control and I move it faster, you can see these little squiggles appear and she puts on her belt faster. Now this is, if you take anything away from editing in Sony Vegas, please pay attention to this next step. This is a huge flaw I see in a lot of Sony Vegas edited videos. And as you can see here, Applejack was putting on her belt, but now you see this ghosting effect. You can see she has multiple belts she's putting on because she's trying to really get things done. And what this happens is, since we've changed the speed of this clip in Sony Vegas, we've made it faster. Vegas looks at the video frame rate that the project is at, that 23-ish frames per second, and Vegas tries to fill in the spaces, because the clip we put on the timeline and made it faster. It's no longer that 23.97 frames a second. It's now faster, and it's trying to guess what should go there. We don't want that. We really don't want that. So Vegas calls that resampling. So in order to disable this resampling, you can right-click this bar here, and it's going to go off screen, but you're going to click Properties, and this brings up the Properties window. Now, the Properties window is magical because you can tell it you want to disable resample. So I'm going to say this again. When you're dealing with Sony Vegas, always ensure disable resample is right there and selected. Always make sure you have that. So there are ways to make forced. Now, Sony Vegas does not support disabling resample altogether for the entire project. Now I'm seeing some information in the chat where through future versions of Vegas does allow this, which is awesome. I definitely recommend looking up how to do that in your version of Vegas. But I'm working with Sony Vegas Pro 13, and the only way to do it easily is to use a macro or a script I downloaded off the internet, and I actually put it on this toolbar here, which is disable resample global. So all I have to do whenever I'm working is click this button every once in a while, and that way I make sure all these clips I'm working with have disabled resample. So what you're going to want to do after this is just continue editing your clip and just kind of going to town with the timing and making sure you have everything set and everything you want. Just kind of putting things together and just making sure you're matching beats or however you want to make this PMV happen. And I'm just kind of making some editing magic occur. You know, it's one of those watching the Food Network channel, oh, this is what it looks like when it's finished kind of thing. So the only other thing I wanted to go over for Sony Vegas specifically is when we're dealing with this timeline and we're dealing with this preview window here, Vegas actually renders out that preview window every time you want to hit play. Now the problem that you're going to run into is that if your computer isn't really good at video encoding, you can kind of get this slowed down preview that makes it hard to really get an idea of what's going on in your PMV. So what you can do is you can select a section. So if I highlight just this right here, and I can use something known as dynamic RAM preview. Now dynamic RAM preview, like I mentioned, just go ahead and double click a clip you want to view, and right here in the top we get these little scrubbing bars, and we can move those, and you can see they snap to wherever we want to go. I'm going to go ahead and let's say I want to preview this section. Now I can go ahead and hit play, but the issue with that is if I had a lot of very FX heavy video on this timeline, then it would lag and stutter, and even on a good computer, if you're going crazy with the video editing, it can get really slow and glitchy. So you can do what's known as a dynamic RAM preview. So if you go into the tools bar, and there is an option for build dynamic RAM preview, and so if I click this option, you can see it just scrubbed through really quick and went ahead and put into RAM that video it was stuttering before. So if I hit play now, it's all nice and smooth. So I can pull up a video to give you an idea of the difference. And let's see here if I've got something. Probably shouldn't show this, but I don't care. Because let's be real, it's probably never coming out. Okay. Oh, good lord. Like I mentioned, things get a little crazy when you have a ton of video effects. And actually, oh, I know what happened. All my video clips have been changed. So let's see if I can let's see here. Let's specify a new location. Last minute fun. So, oops. I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to see my photos. Alright. So, Vegas is probably going to freak out and crash. There we go. It didn't. And yeah, the guys in the in the chat. So anyway, as you can see here, I've got a ton of video effects happening, a lot of layers, a lot of small stuff, and Vegas is already lagging. So if I try to hit play, I can go ahead and just mute the audio here, and it's really laggy and all this, I can go ahead and double click that section and build dynamic RAM preview, so I can go ahead and view the clip as it's full speed. Now, the other thing I wanted to pull up, and no, you don't get to see the rest of that. I apologize. You probably will never see the rest of that, knowing the way this project's being handled. But hopefully you will, because I'm proud of what that is. Here is a PMV I made a while ago, Sunshine. And essentially, as you can see, it's just a very simple PMV. That's exactly what I was going for. You can see all these markers that I did to the beat. So if I, let's go, I'm going to turn down the audio a little bit so I can continue talking over it. And Vegas is being awesome right now. Yes, as mentioned in the chat by Shady over here, if you like video editing, be sure you have lots of RAM, because if I pull up my task manager here, just opening Vegas, now mind you, I am streaming right now, I'm using up about 7 gigs, and that's just with, you know, Vegas and streaming. So if I select some stuff here, and I want to go ahead and do a dynamic RAM preview, which if you like shortcuts, it is Shift B, and you can see it's go ahead and rendering all of that. And it stores it in RAM, and so now I'm at 9.1 because it just likes to add 2 gigs for that, because it's storing in raw video in RAM what it's supposed to look like. So as you can see, I made this PMV using markers, very simple episode clips, and all it is putting markers down, snapping, and just making sure the music right down here on this layer matches with the show clips. Yep, as mentioned in the comments thread with RAM, you can increase the amount of RAM Sony Vegas is given by going to Options and Preferences. And it is under Video right here, this tab. And Dynamic RAM Preview Maximum. As you can see, I had 16 gigs of RAM to offer to Sony Vegas. And I went ahead and said, hey, I'm going to give you about 10 gigs. So that way I have about 6 gigs if I want to have web browsing open or anything else. I went ahead and just gave it all the RAM at once, because as you can see, just by doing a couple RAM previews, I'm approaching that number pretty quickly. So some other simple things in Sony Vegas is adding things like text. You can add text right here by going to right-clicking anywhere on a video track, and you can go ahead and say Insert Text Media, and this opens up the Sony Media Generator for titles and text. As you can see, there's the classic sample text that we're going to go ahead and change to dank memes, which I guess sample text is a dank meme. So after you have this text, you can just as easily shorten it, move it somewhere, just drag it around. And what you can do is you can then, again, if you, let's say dank memes is really big and you want to move it somewhere else on the screen. This little button right here is the Event Pan and Crop utility. Go ahead and click that button right here, this middle one, and this opens up the Video FX panel. Let me go ahead and get that on screen for you guys. There you go. And you can see, if I scroll out, this checkerboard pattern is my video canvas. So if I want to go ahead and then zoom out, and if I go ahead and look at, this is where having a second monitor really plays into effect. You can view your video and edit at the same time. I would highly recommend doing that. I can go ahead and move the text around wherever I want. Just kind of, let's go ahead and put it there. And I can do fun, fancy things, like if I right click in this area, I can click multiple options, like if I want to flip it horizontal and it's backward stank memes, or if I want to center it in the video right there, I can go ahead and do that. And as always, I can use arrow keys and just honestly try to just press some buttons and see what happens. Nothing's gonna go wrong. Your computer's not gonna catch on fire. Vegas might hate you. There's that. So I would, it hates everybody, so I wouldn't feel so bad. And yeah, I think that was about all I wanted to show in terms of the tips and tricks in Vegas for the time I have. I wanted to leave you guys with some closing thoughts. And the biggest closing thought Alrighty. So I apologize for that. It appears Vegas doesn't like anyone at all. And I'm not surprised in the slightest when it comes to Vegas. It likes to crash, and it's a kind of a ongoing joke at this point. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people have issues with Vegas and crashing. So I just want to make sure, can everyone hear me? Are we good to go? I'm gonna wait just a hot minute so it gets back. Awesome, so everyone can hear me, that's great. I am going to, as I was mentioning, I'm gonna go ahead and leave creative. I didn't like consider myself something I can like, mix something together and do all this crazy stuff, and I didn't really see myself as making a PMV or anything like that. So one closing thought I want to leave you guys is just do it. I'm really being serious. It's one of those things, like, I hate the Shia LaBeouf meme, but it really does bring into the idea of just go out there and try something. Like, download Vegas, like, put some pony in it, like, see what happens. Like, see if you can try to make something cool out of it. Try to like drag all the FX you want on the timeline and just see if it makes it work. So, and just try it. Like, that's really the biggest thing, is just try it. So it seems like I'm having some stream lag at the moment, but I was gonna open the floor up to some questions as soon as I see the stream lag go down. Alrighty, and I'm going to attempt to bring in one of my friends, Shady Macro, here to help me answer some of these questions. And so, Shady, are you there?
Yes.
Alrighty, can you say something again real quick?
Who, me?
Yes, okay. So it appears everything is showing up for your voice in chat. So if we could get some questions in the chat here, we can go ahead and talk about some things. So now you were sitting in the call the entire time. Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to go over or mention?
I think you got, I mean, considering it was a stream about the basics of like video editing, I think you touched all the important stuff. So it was pretty good. It kind of encompassed the basics of like just getting started. And even for people that are super beginners, like they can even though we mock Windows Movie Maker, that's probably like if you've never touched video editing anywhere, that's a good place to start. That's just something I would maybe like reiterate.
Yeah.
And then Vegas was my next step up after that. So yeah, I think that's the only thing I wanted to chime in is like that's a really good place to start for people that have like never touched video editing and kind of want to have somewhere to jump in.
Sure. Okay, so we have our first question here from Cole the Pony, and Cole the Pony asks, what are the differences between PMVs and AMVs? Do you try making PMVs in After Effects, and do you blame the Nintendo Switch because of this? So let's go ahead and go over the first section. PMVs and AMVs are actually really similar. A lot of the PMV editors started out as AMV editors or something along those lines. The same concept applies, just the source content changes. Like, that's all it really is you're dealing with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic versus the latest and greatest show on Crunchyroll, or Little Witch Academia music video. You gonna make some of those, Shady?
I don't know. But I do love that anime.
Yes. I say, so the second part of this question is, do you try making PMVs in After Effects? Now, this is actually funny because we were talking with Angry Guy about this the other night, weren't we?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Angry Guy I forget the numbers at the end of his name. Oh, I'm so sorry. But Angry Guy is an editor that did some really cool PMV shorts, and I'd highly recommend you check him out. Just Google him up. And essentially, he does everything in After Effects. Like, everything. And it's kind of funny. Like, I expected him to, do something in After Effects and, pull it into something else. But no, he does all of his edits in After Effects, so it's possible. Definitely possible. And it allows you to do crazy stuff and then continue to do some of the basic stuff and all in one program, so you don't have to jump around. So there are benefits, but you have to keep in mind After Effects is designed to do crazy, crazy stuff, and it can make some simple things difficult to do. And do I blame the Nintendo Switch? No. No, I don't. I blame Sony Vegas. I'm serious. I really do think Vegas took down my stream. I'm gonna blame Sony Vegas. I hate it.
It is common for Vegas to crash.
Yeah, it literally likes to either crash the computer, crash itself, or not open your project and just make you cry. It's great. All right. So our next question here is from Adam Odyssey, and Adam asks, "What got me into MLP and PMVs?" MLP was me personally. It was freshman year of college, 2012, and somebody asked me just straight up, "It's hey, have you heard about this pony thing?" I'm like, no, but I mean, what do you mean? It's people our age, guys are watching. I'm like, huh, that's weird. So me being curious, I Googled it up, and I went to the subreddit, and I found this explanation post, and one of the posts that really made me try it was it linked all of the people. All right, reconnection successful. All right, so we're back. My connection's being a jerk, evidently. So anyway, to finish answering that question, I went ahead and looked at everyone who worked on the show, and I was they connected it to all of these different shows I used to watch on Cartoon Network, and all these shows that I grew up watching, writers, story editors, directors. Hold on. And it kind of pulled them all together, and that's what caused me to just give it a shot. Now, what got me into PMVs? Honestly, the Ponies the Anthology series got me into video editing. I really loved the idea of PMV, PMV shorts and short clips, and Anthology made it happen in such a beautiful and delightful way that I gave video editing a shot. And that's all it really was. So then I literally, for me, the way I got into it was I noticed some of the people who were making PMVs, and I just kind of looked at what they were using and just got started, downloaded Vegas, put some clips together, and just worked, found out how to use the program, found out these effects, and just kind of threw it together. And that's kind of what got me personally into PMVs. So, I mean, Shady, do you want to comment on anything?
What, like how I got into it, or?
I mean, if you would like to, it's all up to you.
I mean, I won't go into. I mean, I'll make mine quick. YouTube used to have a top 100 feature back in 2011. It would just show the top 100 viral videos, and one of them was it was a video by Silk AMV. It was I can't say the title of the song,
Yeah,
but it was
G-rated.
Pinky and yeah, it was Pinky and Fluttershy rapping. And it just kind of threw me in. And then when it comes to PMVs, I actually used to make Halo videos that was somewhat of like a Halo music video montage, so I kind of had experience. And then at one point during my tenure as a fan of horses, I was just like, hey, I decided to take up editing, and then I finally made a PMV last year. So
Yeah,
that's kind of a summary of my route. So.
good deal.
Mhm.
Now, the next question I'm going to take here is from Cole the Pony again. Cole asks, what happens if you get copyrighted while making PMVs? This is actually a good topic to touch on because the easiest thing to do with the copyright and working with copyrighted music, copyrighted pony clips is the easiest thing to do is try to upload it on your YouTube channel as unlisted and see if it gets flagged. Because what happens is YouTube does allow, and depending on the copyright holder, it does allow certain use of music and certain use of video, especially if you don't monetize it. And the easiest way to check YouTube's system is to render a test clip of what you're using and put it up on your YouTube channel as unlisted and give it a couple minutes to see if it gets flagged. Because I've talked a lot with some of the people who behind Ponies the Anthology with uploading the final video for the anthology, because it has to deal with so many different copyright things and so many different clips and video ID, content ID. It gets pretty crazy. And I remember I was talking to Jay Holler at a convention, and he mentioned that they would just upload the entire thing and just kept cutting clips where it got clipped, where it got flagged for, because YouTube will tell you exactly what time point the video is flagged or content ID with, and so you can kind of work with their suggestions. Say, hey, can I try, render a test clip and upload it and see if it works. Is anything I missed, Shady?
I would say I know that Crown made a video on her channel that goes into the details about copywriting with like YouTube. So, and I'm sure most people know Crown because she's kind of the head of this con. So check out her channel. She has more info on copyright stuff too.
Definitely, like her
Pretty
series
detailed. Yeah, but you covered kind of the, I guess the tell-all, which is like the whole flagging issue. So.
Right, because
I think you got it.
Yeah, just don't expect to make money or monetize off of PMV videos. Just don't expect to do that. It's not going to work. The next question I'm going to take is from No Thanks, and they say, as someone who gives up on things way too easily, are creative blocks or motivation ever something you face? Is there anything you manage to do to break through these barriers? Yes. The answer is art block and frustration with what you do or motivation is definitely a thing. I have trouble doing things in Vegas for a while where it's like, if it's not working, if it doesn't make sense, like the easiest thing that I do is I take a break, I do something else, I come back to it, I try something simple. I think that's really the biggest thing for me, is do a simple edit or something simple works, and just kind of get your mind in that groove and start to flow. And so that way you can go back to what you were frustrated with or what you had issues with and kind of like approach it with a different angle now that you're like in the groove for it. So Shady, do you have any recommendations or tips on that?
It can get tough if you have like creator's block. And it sometimes you just need to take a break. Preferably not too long, or else you'll kind of just forget about it completely. But no, I like what you said. There's really no fully encompassing answer to like how to break through it, but yeah, I would definitely say sometimes take a break. If not, do things that can bring inspiration back. Like when I'm thinking of PMV or short ideas, I watch the episodes. You know, we do our weekly viewings. That helps me get back into the flow. It's like just sitting down and watching MLP footage. So that's all I got.
Yeah, definitely going back and just watching the show. Just
Yep.
that makes a big difference too, because you can go back and if you're making a PMV, you'll find a clip that you're like, oh, I didn't know that happened, or it's like, oh, she did that there, and like you want to use that clip somewhere. So that's definitely helpful. So next question is, am I gonna finish that handy PMV that I just started? No, I'm not. I'm sorry. It was just an idea I had. I might do something with it, but no, I'm probably not gonna even touch it. Although
Quick, someone else take it before.
yeah. Well, actually, I looked it up. Somebody's done it.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You mentioned that. Whoops.
Yeah. Anyway, next question. Have I ever tried making a song or an original track? I honestly, I'm not musically inclined, but that's something I wouldn't mind giving a shot, especially with tracking software or MIDI stuff. I would probably give that a shot one day. But no, not at the moment. And what's the hardest part about doing what you do? And I guess I can go back to the question that I got asked earlier, is staying motivated, especially finishing something on a deadline. That's the hardest part, is like finishing it. Especially with like, you run into the same things with writer's block or artist block, where you just like, okay, you want to get this done, but it's like you're not feeling it, or it's not flowing. And that's the hardest part. It's just keeping at it. But when you're done, it feels so good, and that's what you always have to keep thinking. It's like when you put it all together, or when something works, and it's like you watch it, and it's like, I made that. That's what keeps me motivated and wants me to finish it. I mean, do you have anything to add, Shady?
Yeah, pretty much coming up with the idea and executing it to what you want it to be. That's usually very tough. Like, you'll have an idea, but it's sometimes difficult to bring it all together, but it's totally worth it if you can make it work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so I guess I can go over some of the earlier questions I saw in chat. I got asked by someone at some point, what's my favorite PMV group, and the correct answer is Blow. The what is the actual name for the studio behind Blow? It's Volp something. I can't remember.
I think sorry, I should know this.
I should know it too.
Part of it.
And they're very difficult to find online because it's all emojis and Unicode symbols.
Dark Hoof Studios.
That's it. Yeah. No, they make crazy, stupid stuff, and that's the whole point of it. It's just crazy, stupid stuff. It seems like Cole put some stuff in the question answer, so I can just go ahead and fly through some of these. How difficult is it to select music and sync the clips to the music? That is really where, for me, I have to wait for the motivation. Like, for my Sunshine PMV, I was looking at making a PMV about Twilight, and I was just going through some music and some ideas, and for me, like, I found that Sunshine rap, and it's like, all right, all this crazy stuff happens, but you know what, we're gonna keep our head up, and we're gonna keep moving, and the message of the song matched the message of some of the stuff that happened in the episodes and with Twilight, and I just kind of wanted to smash them together, and that's really where I wanted to do. So, just as a heads up, guys, I'm at the end of my hour, so if you'd like to go watch some other panels with HAHCon, go to HAHCon.com, click the schedule button, and you can check out all the cool panels that are happening after mine. If you would like to stay with me, I am going to go ahead and go over and just finish some of these questions and kind of talk with you guys. And when it wraps up, it wraps up. But go ahead, don't feel pressured to stay here. If you'd like to stay here, I'm just going to keep talking with you guys in chat and answer some questions. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and go through some of these by Eli. Do I like animations and AMVs? Well, I do like AMVs. There's a couple AMV editors that I've met, and they're really cool people, and they make some really cool stuff. Like, if you've ever watched a video by Ilea, she is wonderful, and she's done some crazy good AMVs, and even stuff she's made. I think she made something with Avatar: The Last Airbender at some point, and it just worked. It was kind of crazy. It was really well done. So, let's see here. Next question is from Adam, and what are my favorite musicians of all time? That's a personal question, but okay. It's kind of hard to say. I like alt rock a lot, so in that genre, like some classic Green Day, stupid Blink 182 is always like gotta love that. Some ska, like Shady can share my love in ska. Some Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, some horns.
sir.
Yep, who doesn't love some of that? So that's always fun. I'm trying to remember what other kind of questions I got in chat that were happening during the video. Shady, is there any that you remember that I didn't get a chance to get to?
What questions?
Yeah, is anything that somebody asked or anything? I'm scrolling through now, see if I can't find anything.
I think you covered most of them.
Okay. Well, great. So I guess that's the end of the questions here. I'd just like to leave you guys with, if you want any questions about PMVs, if you want to ask me anything, you can go ahead and hit me up on Twitter at thinsightfire64. Just literally tweet at me or message me, and just if you have any questions, I can either answer what I know, or I can get you to someone who can answer your question. And that's the biggest thing, is because I've met a lot of people where it's like I mentioned, Jake's really good at Final Cut. It's like I know people who are really good at After Effects. Or if you want to learn like all these crazy shapes and really cool transitions people do for PMVs, like I can get you in contact or tell you where to go. And that's the biggest thing about the PMV and pony communities. A lot of people are just really approachable, really friendly, and you just message them on Discord or ask them questions, and that's all you like, and they'll be more than happy to answer them to the best of their ability. And I'm one of those people. Just feel free to message me on Twitter. Is probably the easiest way to get to me. Is there anything?
You should post your Twitter handle in the chat.
I mean, I should have left it at the last page. Yeah, that whole. I can just go ahead and pull it up here, because I got that power. So yeah, Dinsfire64 right here. And so I'd like to thank you all for coming to my Horses at Home Con panel. It was fun just giving you guys like a really quick hour overview, and I'll do my best with the computer crash and the YouTube stutter to put the video of the panel on my YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and go back and watch some of the stuff we talked about. And if you have any questions, as always, my Twitter is right there. You can message me on YouTube, or just kind of go ahead and try to get in contact with me, and I will find you an answer somehow. So I would like to thank Shady for sitting in on the panel and helping me answer some of these questions, because he's a little bit more experienced than I am and can offer a little bit of a different insight. So yeah, thank you all, and continue to enjoy Horses at Home.